and welcome back to Sandy Slant on everything. We are still in the middle of getting things ready to move. We got that bookshelf completely emptied off and then turned around and sold the whole desk that went with it. And so that's an improvement. Let me show you. Now the office is empty. And I'm so happy. Here is our office, and it's basically empty. Well, full of boxes, but boxes are forever. Still got to get rid of a filing cabinet, but there was a desk there, and there was a side desk there, and there was the bookshelf there, and now it's all gone. Yay! The nicest couple came to get it. They both work from home, and I had put up, it was a solid wood 5-foot long desk, really nice set, and people, I had put it up for sale for just $100 because it was in our basement and it was going to require a truck, it was going to require muscle, it was going to require a lot to get it out of here. So we put it up for $100, and people kept texting me asking, will you take $50 for it? And I'm thinking, gosh, I'm practically giving it away now. We paid a lot more for it than that. And then they'd be like, how about 75? No, 100 is firm. And they'd be like, oh, well then no thanks. $25 for a, what do we pay for that thing? Like $600 or $700. It was expensive. And solid wood and no nicks on it. It was in perfect condition. So I was so glad that a family that, for one, was just starting out. They had a toddler and an infant, and he was ex-military, and we love the military. We were both military. I was in the Navy, and my husband did 20 years in the Air Force. So we try to help out any veterans we can, anytime we can. And so that was just perfect. So when at first they couldn't find a truck, and I mentioned that places like Home Depot rent trucks by the hour, and they had to call all over the city because our city is in a hot market right now. It is the place to move, apparently. And along with also the place to move out. We've got a lot of people moving out too, so their trucks were booked through the weekend, and they were able to find a large van and rent that and come over and get it. And it took my husband and the couple themselves to get that thing up the stairs, but they got it. I couldn't help much. All I could do was direct traffic and open doors, but getting stronger. Getting stronger. See? A muscle. Look at that. Yeah, that reminds me. I went to, I asked my doctor to give me a referral for PT because my balance was off. I'd been in bed for so long, like a year, getting them to figure out the gastroparesis, and I was falling over. I'd, just be standing there and just sort of fall over or something. And so he said, well, all your little stabilizer muscles, they're going to take a while to come back along with the rest of the muscle. And I'm like, well, I know how to get on a treadmill, and I know how to take walks, and I know how to climb and bike and do all that kind of stuff to get the muscle back, but how do I get all these little stabilizer muscles back? And he said that he'd send me to PT, and the woman did an evaluation. It felt like a neurological evaluation, where you walk a straight line with both feet to like the police have stopped you for drinking. And she had me like touch my nose with my eyes closed, and I stood on a pillow on one leg on the floor, and fell over, but then did it on the floor without the pillow and didn't fall over. And but when we were all done, she said that I was not in as bad a shape as I thought I was. And she said, I'm probably going to see you maybe 4 or 5 times. And then you're going to have some homework, but, I feel that you'll do it because you want to be back, to normal. And I was shocked. I mean, I thought I was sick and dying. And she said that when we'd originally talked, I told her that my husband and I have climbed the mountain, and the incline is really hard, but worth it. Definitely worth it. I'll post a picture real quick. And we went up the incline. We hike, we bike, we walk almost every day. And I have a treadmill when it's too cold. And I said, and now I can't do anything. And she said, well, the fact that you had all that muscle to start with, that you were in pretty good shape to start with, she said that does wonders. And she said, if you had been a couch potato and I was trying to get you up and moving and get your balance back and things like that, she said, we'd be here for months. And she said, it's not going to take any time at all for you. And I was like, yay. So good to hear. And that in itself has brought my morale up a lot, to see blood tests that are showing that all my electrolytes are going back to normal. My platelets are still ridiculously high, but nobody knows why. And that's been that way for a while. But the electrolytes I thought were dropping because of the formula, because maybe there wasn't enough. And I only take 4 cartons instead of 8 cartons like some people do. And when you look at it, it says 12% of the potassium that you're supposed to have is in 1 carton. And I'm like, that's only half when you add up all 4. And, I'm trying to calculate this out. And once I got water in, the last blood test in January said that my electrolytes were all really low at the very bottom of all the scales. And then that home infusion, I got the water in, the electrolytes were back. So apparently they were just not moving and not getting where they needed to be, and all because of water. Again, we live in a desert. Colorado Springs is a desert. It is a desert. If you're ever out here and you go east, you'll find out you're in the desert. All the green plush, that pretty housing and all that you see here in the city is all sprinkler systems. It does not look like that. We have tumbleweeds. we don't have well, we have some cacti, but we have succulent plants, and things that grow out here naturally are not like you're used to seeing down at sea level or a little bit above, like the East Coast and things. So water evaporates off your skin so fast you never knew you were sweating. And in the summertime, you lose a lot of water. Even in the wintertime, the wind blows down off the mountain and it just sucks the water out of your skin. And then your body puts that back, and it keeps putting it back, and it keeps putting it back. And before you know it, you're dehydrated. And you didn't even know it was coming. So that dehydration caused the huge depression, and I was sunk. That's why there's like a gap in my videos of like 4 months where I was just sunk in this deep depression. The amount of water that's in the formula is nowhere near enough, and so I needed to be drinking a bunch more, but how can you when your stomach doesn't take it? So now I push some through my G-tube, and I drink some, and they put some through an IV, and the electrolytes are good. So between seeing a blood test where my electrolytes were perfect, square right in the middle of the range, they were perfect, and seeing that and hearing from the PT that I was not as bad as I thought, and so on and so forth, just really sucked me out of that depression and into a just a good place. I mean, a much better place than I was. So I am back on the treadmill, back to taking walks with my husband and the dog, of course, who's just loving being out again because she spent almost a year in the house with me. Poor little thing. And so that's been our week. Let's see, anything else happened? We got rid of a lot of stuff. Oh my gosh, this past weekend there was a whole truckload that went to donations because we just have accumulated. How does that happen every time? We move a lot because we were military and then government. And every time we move, there is donations before we pack out, and there's donations when we unpack. And we get rid of, and we get rid of, and we get rid of. This time, luckily, 2 of my daughters had relatively new apartments and they needed stuff. And so things went to them. I take pictures. You want this? Do you want that? Do you want this? Do you want that? Before it would go to be donated. And that was good. They got stuff. Stuff is good. Kids love stuff. Well, they're not kids. The oldest is 27, so she's not a kid. But the younger is 19, so she's a lot happier with. She has a lot less stuff because she just moved out, and she has a lot less stuff and needed things, and we were happy to give it to her. And I think the gastroparesis has changed my point of view on stuff. I really was never a big fan of stuff. I've kind of always been more minimalistic. And then the next thing I knew, I became a stuff keeper and a stuff buyer, and there's too much stuff. Time for the stuff to go. So things are going fast, and even the stuff we put up on our local Facebook page, like for our neighborhood, the stuff that was free, we were having trouble getting the person to come over, and I was like, okay, just take it to donation. Let ARC or one of the thrift stores have it. That would be so much better. And now I think I better go run some errands. So I'll be back. So I was running an errand to Walmart, and I realized that the mountain has snow on it. We haven't had much snow this winter, which is really strange for Colorado, but important because it's a desert, and without it we go into a drought in the summertime. But we won't be here this summer. But I wanted to give you a shot of what I'm gonna miss. It's so pretty. That is Pikes Peak. You can see that mountain from all over the city, since the city kind of runs down the mountain along the bottom. I say bottom. The city is up at 6,000 to 7,000 feet, and the mountain at the top is 14,000 feet. Joe and I climbed that mountain a few years back for a charity for traumatic brain injuries. And it was very hard, but it was really worth it. It was so worth it. I wouldn't recommend, if you're visiting, to climb it because of altitude sickness. And so a lot of people get altitude sickness just being in the city because it's at 7,000 feet. But if you're in good climbing condition, or you've been here for over a couple weeks, you can climb the mountain. And there's a trail that goes all the way up, and it's just beautiful. It's always been beautiful. From all the time we've been here, we could see it from our windows, we could see it as we're driving down the road, and it's America's mountain, as they say. And purple mountain's majesty. It really is purple, sort of a purplish color, but I will miss it. And it's one of the things that should be on a lot of people's bucket list, to climb it, or at least to drive up it. Well, I think that wraps it up for today. If you're wondering where I am, this is the spare bedroom. Also cleaned up and ready for a showing. Yay! And ran my errands and nothing much else going on today. And later this week, just more of the same. But I will be back. We will be back. We'll all be back. And thanks for coming by. And if you like our channel, please subscribe down below and hit the like button if you liked it. Leave a comment and tell me what you think. And tell me if you've ever been to Colorado Springs. That would be, and what you did here while you were here, what you liked about it. And now we're going to be leaving. But then you can tell me about Panama City. But leave a comment and I'll answer back.